What is supposed the garland's doing? I meant to do it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Could you just take the echo off, please? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Hare Rama.
Rama Rama.
Rama Rama.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
So devotees and friends, Hare Krishna, how nice to be here with you all at this very interesting place. This is a Goshala. Really? How many cows are there? Two.
One cow, one bull.
Okay, well that's very interesting. I've not been here before, I was not aware of it. So anyway, devotees, you know what? In a couple of days, it will be Shivaratri, as I assume you're aware of that. And I thought that under the circumstances, we could say some things about Lord Shiva, but particularly about Lord Shiva's position, who he is, what he is, his position as a devotee, and all the great acharyas, the great devotional authorities. That's how they describe Lord Shiva. That he's a devotee of Lord Krishna, not just a devotee, but a great devotee. One of the very great devotees of Lord Shiva. So let's just say a few words on this, and this may sort of try to help educate us if we're not so familiar with the background and how all these things work, the deeper understandings and meanings like that. So first of all though, please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate Namaste.
Bhagavatam, which is, well, the most authoritative and important of all the Vedic scriptures. This is verse 17. It's just about the last verse, one of the very last verses in the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is big. It's really big. It's thousands of pages, as Prabhupada's presented it. 12 cantos, 12 main sections, about 15,000 verses. Bhagavad Gita is exactly 700. Srimad Bhagavatams was something like 15,000 or so. And this is coming right at the end, in the last few 3 or 4 verses or so, when everything in Srimad Bhagavatam is being summarized and really brought to the conclusion, we find this verse. And actually it's glorifying Lord Shiva, but it's glorifying other personalities or entities also. So please listen carefully. Nimna Ganam Yata Ganga Devanam Achuto Yata Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu Puranam Idam Tata. Just as the Ganga is the greatest of all rivers, Lord Achyuta is a name of Krishna. It means infallible or undefeatable. Lord Achyuta is the supreme among deities. And Lord Shambhu, Lord Shiva, is the greatest of Vaishnavas, means devotees of Vishnu or Krishna. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all Puranas. That's really interesting, isn't it? Just as the Ganga is the greatest of all rivers, Lord Achyuta, the supreme among deities, and Lord Shambhu or Lord Shiva is the greatest of Vaishnavas. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all Puranas. So I said we'd say something about who he is, what he is. Lord Shiva, what's his position? What's his nature? And there's a very interesting description of that in Brahma Samhita. Brahma Samhita is also one of the Vedic scriptures. It's spoken by Lord Brahma, who's famously the creator of the universe. So Brahma Samhita says, Shiram yata dati vikara vishesha yogat sanjayate nahitata pritag asti heto ya shambhutam apitata. And listen carefully to the translation of this verse. It's a little complicated, not very, but a little bit. Just as milk is transformed into yogurt by the action of acids, but yet the effect, yogurt, is neither the same as nor different from its cause, milk. So I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, Govinda being a name of Krishna. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu, Lord Shiva, is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction of the universe. Yeah, so let's just explain that a bit to start off. So it says that Lord Shambhu, Lord Shiva, he's like yogurt in relation to milk. So who is the milk that he's so to speak, that milk is actually Lord Vishnu himself. So in other words, Lord Shiva is a form, not exactly the same, just as yogurt and milk. No, they're the same, but they're not just the same. I think we're all well aware of that. That you can only make yogurt from milk. But when you've got the yogurt, you can't turn it back into milk. That's it. It's fixed. It's permanently changed. So like this, Lord Shiva is a form of Lord Vishnu, but he's been transformed into the special state of Lord Shiva Tattva. We talk about different tattvas, different categories of living beings. Vishnu Tattva means Lord Vishnu and all of the Tatastha Shakti, the marginal potency of the Lord. That's us. We are marginal. We're spiritual by nature, and we belong in the spiritual world, but we have a tendency to this world of birth and death, although we are eternal. But we've got that tendency to just sort of drift away from our eternal spiritual position and get caught up in this material world where we all have our temporary material bodies. And sooner or later, all of us will leave these bodies, or in other words, die, because the bodies are temporary. Even the little ones are very young. It's going to come to them sometime. You know, generally according to the law of averages, they've got a lot longer to go than someone like me or a number of us here. But still, it's going to come their way. Yeah, and then there's Shakti Tattva, the category of living entities coming from Radharani, the consorts of the Lord. And Parvati comes in that category, the Shakti of the Lord, the energy of the Lord. But then there's Shiva Tattva, and that's Lord Shiva. He's in his own special category. And as we read, he's like yogurt in relation to milk, the milk being Lord Vishnu. But you take some milk and you apply, if you make yogurt at home, you'd know, you apply some acidophilus, or just apply some yogurt up, and in the morning, you've got yogurt. And when you've got the yogurt, you can't change it back, yogurt back into milk, forget it. And the difference is that through contact with the acid, which transforms it, the yogurt is sour. Milk in terms of, as a category of food, is considered sweet. Did you know that? Milk is sweet. And you can make, if you know how, you can extract sugar from milk. It's called lactose. Actual sugar. Just actual sugar. Yeah. So, milk is sweet. Rice is considered sweet. But then other things, like Corella. Oh, I like Corella. And Meti herbs, oh gosh. It's kind of, technically they call it astringent, kind of bitterish. Anyway, these different tastes are there. And yogurt is sour, but milk is sweet. So like this, Lord Shiva's in very special position. He's almost on the level of the Supreme Lord, but he's been changed into a different state by contact with some souring agent. And what is the souring agent in the case of Lord Shiva? Is Durga, Parvati, his wife. She's the presiding deity of the material, Mataji. But if you see pictures of Durga, I'm sure you've seen many, there she usually has multiple hands, and she has different weapons. A chopper, a saber, a dagger for stabbing, a trident or a spear or something. She's a heavy Mataji, a tough girl. Miseries of this world, fundamental miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. But then there's other miseries coming just from your own body. Sickness and things like this. And misery is just coming from the material nature. Sometimes it's too hot, then sometimes it's too cold, and sometimes it rains. So these are miseries coming from material nature. And then there's miseries from other living entities. Mosquitoes can be such a nuisance sometimes. Actually, there's an interesting story, Lord Shiva, in that regard. One of our great devotees in our line, one of our greatest, his name was Sanatana Goswami, and he was living of Lord Krishna. And he would just move around the Vrindavan area, walk around, visiting the different places of pastimes of Lord Krishna. And one day, he came to a place, hill. Govardhan Hill is a very famous place of Krishna's pastimes. He lifted it and held it with the little finger of his left hand for a week or so. So there in the middle of the hill is a lake called Manasi Ganga. Manasi meaning the mind, and Ganga is the Ganga, the Ganges river. So the Ganges, which has come from Lord Krishna's mind. And it's a very sacred place, and you get so many people there, going there on pilgrimage. So anyway, Sanatana Goswami wanted to spend some time there. And there on the banks of that Manasi Ganga, there's a temple of Lord. Now, in India, the mosquitoes are fairly small. But when I first went to India, 1976, I first went to India. And back then they had really serious mosquitoes. They're like this big. Man-eaters. Oh yeah. So the mosquitoes were bothering Sanatana Goswami in the course of the night, and he became sort of frustrated. So he got up, he just wanted to go in the middle of the night. But Lord Shiva from the temple, Chakaleshwara, he came in the form of an old Brahmin, an old priest, and begged him, please don't go. We really want to have your association. Please stay. And Sanatana Goswami said, but what about these mosquitoes? They're too much. And Lord Shiva said, don't worry, I will take care of the mosquitoes. You just lie down again. You won't be bothered again, ever. And sure enough, that's what happened. And so Sanatana Goswami lived there until he actually passed away. He lived there for quite some years. Yes, so that was Lord Shiva helping the devotee of the Lord. So anyway, we were saying that Lord Shiva, he's a type of Lord Vishnu. Anyway, you're familiar with Kathak? They have a whole lot of bells on their, like from the knees down to the feet, and they stamp their feet. You know, I can't do it. I'm not an expert on Kathak. But you get some of these girls, wow, it's amazing. So Lord Shiva, he does a similar dance, smashing with his feet, and it shakes the universe to pieces on, would you believe, on a molecular level. How's that? Yeah, so he's inspired like that because he's in that soured state due to the association of Durga, his wife, who's the presiding deity of material nature. And as we said, you know, there's particularly Gujarati people, but different people, particularly in India, they address her as Mataji, means mother, or like dear mother. But she's got all these weapons. And those weapons, disease, etc. Yeah. And so Prabhupada gave a description that each of those weapons represents of life in this world. The dagger represents something, some misery. Then the saber represents another misery. And Prabhupada said, for the materialistic people who are impious, who are not devotees of the Lord, they're always trying to dodge these weapons because these different difficulties are coming and coming and coming, just one after the other. Life is full of them. Like, you know what it's like in South Africa, that it was difficult enough, you know, dealing with the political situation, dealing with, you know, the financial situation, the rand, and then along comes COVID. Haribol. Haribol. You know, if it wasn't enough having to work hard and not get paid enough, but then suddenly COVID comes. It's crazy. That's the nature by the different weapons of Durga. So Prabhupada said, if she doesn't get you with the dagger, then she may get you with her spear. And if she doesn't get you with the spear, maybe she'll get you with her saber. And if you dodge all of them, then maybe her lion will get you. So, you know, it's not easy in this world, put it that way. It's a tricky place, this material world. And then on top of everything, Russia invades Ukraine. But anyway, that's not our problem yet. It could, I don't think it could not become. So anyway, Lord Shiva, through his association with Durga, who is presiding over the material in Sanskrit, you know, if you understand Hindi, you would know Ashu means desire, Asha, and Tosh means to satisfy. So Lord Shiva, this is one of his names, Ashutosh. He very easily satisfies the desires of people who approach him and ask him a nice house, a nice car, or a few new cars, a huge television to watch Kuch Kucha. That's something with, what's his name, Shah Rukh Bhai. Shah Rukh Khan, anyway. He satisfies the desires quickly. Therefore, he's popular with people who want material things. But Lord Shiva, when you see pictures of him, at least more authentic pictures, you see he's sitting down and he has his mala. You know, maybe his Rudraksha mala, or maybe Tulsi mala. But he has some beads. You often see him like that, sitting down under a tree, and he's chanting, he's meditating. And then, because he's Ashutosh, it's his one of his specific services to Lord Vishnu, that when people approach him that we want this, we want that, we want so many things, he has to stop his meditation. He has to stop his chanting, put his beads down, and attend to this person. And you know what people are like? Usually they have their shopping list. Give me a house and a car and a color TV. Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. Or, you know, I want a big Lani house in Westville. And I want Mercedes-Benz, the big one, the black one. And I want big TV, we already mentioned that. And, you know, I want Christian Dior, Pierre Cardin, sari for my wife. Pierre Cardin sari, how's that? So, you know, got a shopping list. And Lord Shiva immediately, he says, okay, you want a house. How about a palace?